Now on Sunrise, all eyes remain on Bowling Green as testimony continues today in the Brooks Houck Joseph Lawson trial for the murder of Crystal Rogers. We're breaking down testimony from inside the courtroom. Plus, Louisville Metro Council members passed the next fiscal budget, but not everyone was on board. We'll dive into the arguments. And we're hearing from Kentucky lawmakers on their opinions of the president's big, beautiful bill. Sunrise at 6 starts right now.
Now, Wave News Sunrise.
Good morning and happy Friday. Sun's starting to come up just a bit as we take a live look at our storm tracker out there. Tawana, you are always better at this than I am. Where's the storm tracker?
Currently on the Waterson Express.
Yeah, okay. I know Louisville. I have driven these roads my entire life. I still don't know how you do it. That's impressive.
I think it's getting pretty close to that Westport Road exit, or right over there. So, listen, my brain, it works in mysterious ways. I still don't know.
Hey, that's impressive. But hey, yesterday I was actually sitting at my parents' house and we kept getting alerts from the Wave Weather app saying storms are moving through Louisville, and we didn't see anything, but people did see some damage.
Yeah, quite a few areas had to deal with heavy rain, some strong winds. Yesterday, even some localized flooding near U of L as well. So that's just one of the things that these isolated downpours can do, because myself, I didn't see a drop of rain, but I watched the storm off into the distance there. So yeah, that's what we're going to be looking at for today. See, I was right. Yeah, she was just past the Westport Road exit, getting near Brownsboro Road. I'm very proud of myself there. We're continuing to keep an eye on some of those upper level clouds overhead as we're watching that beautiful sunrise beginning across portions of Wave Country there. Your temperatures are in the low to mid 70s. So for many of you, especially in the metro, you're much cooler than where you were yesterday morning because that rain helped to keep us from getting as warm as we did previously. But we're going to get back into those low to mid 90s for your highs this afternoon with that heat index near 100 degrees. We'll watch for some more of those isolated storms coming our way, but don't forget that heat advisory still in place. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves, your pets in this dangerous heat. But those isolated downpours, they pop after lunch. We're going to keep those around through the evening, and we'll watch them fading into early tomorrow morning. Remember, not everyone will see that rainfall. I'll talk a little bit more about the threats that come along with some of these downpours later on today in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Tawana. A breaking news alert right now on Sunrise. A family of 3 had to evacuate their home late last night in Prospect because of a fire. This was the scene in the 7500 block of Chestnut Hill Drive. It took almost 30 firefighters from 3 different departments nearly an hour to put out the flames. According to fire officials, that fire was caused by an electrical equipment failure at the meter base of the home. While the home has significant smoke damage, officials say it is still structurally sound. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. Yesterday wrapped up day 3 of the Brooks Houck Joseph Lawson trial. Several testimonies are giving us insights about the Brooks Houck's timeline around the time Crystal Rogers went missing. Wave News reporter Marissa Burke joining us now to give us a brief recap from court. Marissa.
Olivia, one of the takeaways from Thursday are the different witnesses that contradicted the timeline that Brooks Houck gave to police. There was also a gap in his memory for what he and Rogers did the night that Rogers went missing. Houck was not specific with the more than 4 hours of time he claims he, Crystal, and Eli, their son, spent at the family farm. We're also learning more about Rogers and Houck's relationship. The defense described it as complicated and said Rogers would sometimes run away from home after their fights.
The defense knows the weak spots, and they're going to try to drive a truck through it, and the prosecution knows the strong points, and they're going to try to buoy them. So they're both just posturing, but I think it gives you a pretty good idea of where they're headed, because once trial starts, then you learn the theme.
Detective Snow testified there is no proof that Crystal Rogers even made it home, and she's not been seen since. In the next half hour of Sunrise, I'll tell you about the statement Houck brought with him to the police station and what else we learned happened during that interview. Marissa Burke, Wave News.
Marissa, thank you. And we will continue to have full coverage of the trial live from Bowling Green. There are no cameras allowed in court, but we do have a team there with giving extensive information on all the players in this case. And you can check that out on our website, wave3.com. You can also follow along with our live blog each day as the trial progresses. Metro Council passes Mayor Craig Greenberg's amended budget, but not before some leaders utter some strong words. Councilwoman Josie Raymond says the city loses when a presented budget is just good enough but does not have a vision.
This budget allows TARC to limp along while Lexington and Nashville are lapping us in prioritizing public transit. It funds license plate readers, but no truly meaningful investments in youth and family stability that would make them less necessary. It funds those park rangers, but it doesn't ensure that every court in every park is playable.
Mayor Greenberg says his $1.2 billion budget will make historic investments in public safety, libraries, infrastructure, affordable housing, and helping the homeless. The council approved the budget by a vote of 21-4. Some of those public safety investments include funding for larger LMPD recruiting classes, Louisville Fire Department, and EMS. Other changes include more security cameras and license plate readers to fight crime and a new first responder training facility. Part of the budget also wants to build 15,000 affordable housing units by 2027 and will help open a community care campus for families experiencing homelessness. Other funds will create a medical facility for homeless individuals who have left a hospital but still need medical care. Kentucky will have several new laws taking effect today. That includes House Bill 4, which prevents colleges and universities from spending money on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and eliminates all DEI offices and positions. Senate Bill 181 requires school boards to establish a traceable communication system for messaging between staff, students, and parents. House Bill 208 requires school boards to create policies that ban the use of cell phones in classrooms. And Senate Bill 73 creates tougher penalties for sextortion, including more severe charges when it involves a minor. Democratic governors are teaming up to sound the alarm on threats to Medicaid and food assistance programs. Governor Andy Beshear says if the Senate's version of the big, beautiful bill is passed, it would force 35 rural hospitals across Kentucky to close, leaving thousands of Kentuckians without jobs.
This isn't Donald Trump saying you're fired to some celebrity that has another job. It's Donald Trump saying you're fired, specifically causing the termination of 20,000 doctors, nurses, orderlies, security, custodians. If they vote for it, it's Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell laying off 20,000 Republicans, all in areas that probably voted for the president and voted for these senators.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill say they're working overtime to get that big, beautiful bill passed before the weekend. The White House has pushed for a July 4th deadline. Meanwhile, Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul says President Trump's budget bill can be improved, especially when it comes to the nation's debt. The bill also proposes cuts to Medicaid. Paul shares his fears about the debt ceiling and inflation.
I'm for the tax cuts. I think the tax cuts were good for Kentucky. They led to low unemployment rates and a booming economy. But now I believe that they're adding more tax cuts to them and not enough spending cuts. So my fear is that the bill will add to the deficit. As the deficit grows, that means more pressure on inflation and more pressure on prices going up.
Senator Paul says he'd like to see a separate debt ceiling vote, and he is not a hard no on the budget bill. The Supreme Court says states can block Medicaid money for health care at Planned Parenthood. The organization is the country's biggest abortion provider. In a 6-3 opinion, the Supreme Court ruled that states can block money for health services such as contraception and cancer screenings without facing lawsuits from patients. While this decision so far only impacts South Carolina, other conservative states are expected to follow. The budget bill would also cut Medicaid for the organization. It could force around 200 centers in the U.S. to close. LMPD is putting out a warning urging neighbors and families that there are kids running around with masks and carrying toy guns. LMPD says the fake guns look identical to real guns, and that could be dangerous for the kids and any armed civilians and officers they encounter. While LMPD can't identify particular neighborhoods where this is happening the most, officers and city leaders are just asking parents across town to step in and check on their kids.
Being in your kid's life, a lot of people don't know that it changes the perspective of everything. That changes the trajectory of anything that they would be out here doing. So it all starts at home, and I encourage parents to just show up for your kids, whether it's just how was your day? What did you do today? How was school?
City leaders say they're offering programs to help kids be social and stay off the streets. We have a list of those offerings over on wave3.com. GE Appliances says it's bringing 800 new jobs to Louisville and a $480 million investment to its Park headquarters. The company says the change means moving its washing machine manufacturing operations from China to Louisville. CEO Kevin Nolan says it was a decision driven by stability, a confidence that the company can innovate in Louisville. The company says moving forward, local workers will build 15 models of front-load washers.
It's something that's philosophical within the company that we call zero distance. We truly believe the closer we can get to our consumer, who we call the owner, the better off we are and the better we can serve their needs.
The work done at Louisville's GE Appliance Park already generates more than $500 million in state and local taxes. The city of New Albany and its contractor have still not submitted a plan to restore the Providence Mill Dam. Our partners at the News and Tribune learned of this update despite multiple extensions from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The Corps issued cease and desist orders last August. The work involved placing rocks at the dam without permission from neither the Corps nor the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. 14-year-old Andre Edwards Jr. died there last Memorial Day. Edwards' death led to increased calls to remove the dam. New Albany has fought against the dam's removal for nearly 4 years. Indiana American Water will be making emergency repairs to a water line Saturday starting at 8 a.m. in New Albany. It's happening on State Street near the connection with West Daisy Lane. Crews will likely need to close some lanes to finish the repair, but they say they'll keep traffic flowing at all times. Here's Tawana taking us through the next 12 hours.
And as we head over the next 12, we are going to be watching for more of those highs in the 90s for this afternoon with an isolated rain chance. Now, rain chances do go up over the upcoming weekend. I'll break down what we're going to be expecting, especially as we get into your Saturday after the break.
Thanks, Tawana. The University of Louisville set to honor former athletic director Tom Jurich with a street named after him. We're hearing directly from him and why he says he harbors no hate towards the university or the city of Louisville. And an important warning for all drivers after a semi-truck crashes into a bucket truck that left an employee hanging on for dear life. And as we take a look at traffic this morning, no incidents to report out there. Everything looks fabulous right now. Traffic map all green. Looks like speeds looking great.
Now, Wave News.
Tomorrow, the University of Louisville, Mayor Craig Greenberg will honor former athletic director Tom Jurich on the U of L campus. Jurich led the program for 20 years, revitalizing just about every sport on campus and updating facilities. But various scandals led to his dismissal in 2017. Jurich says he harbors no hatred or negative feelings, and Mayor Greenberg feels like it's time to make amends.
I know things didn't end the way anybody would have wanted them to end. Is there hard feeling? How did you get past how everything went down?
You just move forward. You just got to move forward. And as I said earlier today, John L. had the greatest quote when he took the job at Louisville: "Just tear the rearview mirror off." I mean, you probably remember that, Kendrick, when he said that. And there's a lot of truth to that.
It's really special. Anytime that I can help bring the city together to support U of L athletics, I certainly want to do that. And to do it in this really unique, special way for someone who has contributed so much to our city.
In Jurich's time as U of L athletic director, the Cards won 67 conference championships and 42 conference tournament titles, while also winning the Orange and Sugar Bowls. Jurich was also the AD when the Cards won the 2013 national championship in basketball, which, by the way, the mayor says he's contemplating displaying that banner around town sometime soon. I know fans would love to see that. The 2025 Savannah Bananas World Tour is in Louisville for the next couple of days. The Party Animals will be playing against the Visitors at Slugger Field tonight. The team will be here through Saturday, playing in front of sold-out crowds. The Savannah Bananas are known for their banana ball style of baseball. It's a really unique style that puts an emphasis on showmanship, fan participation, and quick-paced games. So be sure to watch out for some road closures around Slugger Field for the games, because the party starts before the games. And there will be a Derby 150 rematch at Churchill Downs this weekend. It's for the Stephen Foster Day competition on Saturday. Breeders' Cup Classic winner Sierra Leone returns to Churchill for the first time since his narrow runner-up finish to Mystic Dan in Kentucky Derby 150. The Stephen Foster will mark the first meeting between the two since their dramatic three-horse photo finish where Mystic Dan barely edged out Sierra Leone and Forever Young. Gates open at Churchill Downs at 11:30 tomorrow morning. But Tawana, Tijuana, the question is, what will our heat look like, and are there chances for rain tomorrow?
Yes and yes.
There we go.
As we look ahead, we're going to be looking at more of that rain coming our way as we head into the weekend. And as of right now, we're still focused in on the heat advisory in place across the region. That goes until 8 p.m. today for all of us. Your temperatures are in the low to mid 70s, so we feel pretty comfortable temperature-wise out there. But the mugginess is the thing that makes it all feel very sticky as you're heading out. 71 right now in Sellersburg, 72 in Fern Creek. Same thing for those of you in Simpsonville. 73 degrees right now in Corydon. The storm tracker out on the roads, currently back on the Watterson Expressway, and you can certainly see how quiet traffic is. But hey, it's a Friday in summer, so this is to be expected, right? We're going to keeping an eye. Ooh, words are hard this morning. We're keeping an eye on mid to upper level clouds across our region for this morning, just like what we've seen over the past couple of days. Once we get into later on this afternoon, we're going to be watching for more of those isolated showers and thunderstorms coming our way, especially with that cold front getting a little bit closer to wave country. So let's talk about what we're going to see for your Friday. Just a mix of sun and clouds for this morning. Highs getting into the 90s again this afternoon. Today we're talking low to mid 90s in most spots. Once we get past lunch, this is when we can start to see some of these isolated showers and thunderstorms popping up across the region, especially after about 2, 3 o'clock this afternoon. And some of these can produce heavy rain and some gusty winds, so we'll have to watch that yet again today. A few of you got a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings yesterday. I honestly would not be surprised if we got 1 or 2 again today with these rounds of rain and storms coming through, because we just have so much moisture, so much heat for them to feed off of. Once we get into later on this evening, while rain chances go down, they don't completely go away because that front is still nearby. We have a marginal risk of severe weather out for those of you anywhere from south of Lebanon all the way towards Columbia, just because of some of the stronger winds that are possible in your area embedded in some of those thunderstorms. Overall, though, once you get into the overnight hours, quiet again, a couple of clouds overhead as temperatures fall into the low to mid 70s. For your Saturday, if you're planning ahead for the weekend, we do see a slightly better rain chance on Saturday compared to Sunday. Watching still for scattered showers and thunderstorms firing up Saturday afternoon and evening. These can produce the heavy rain, the gusty winds that we've seen with a few of those storms. Rain chances fade after sunset. A few of those storms could be briefly strong, so we'll be watching that isolated rain chance throughout that Lou City matchup against North Carolina on Saturday. Rain chances do go up for the cold front on Monday into Tuesday, and will dry out just in time for the 4th of July.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tawana. A new safety alert for you this morning. BMW is recalling 70,000 vehicles due to a crash risk. A mechanical glitch prompted the recall. According to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, the electric drive motor software in these cars could shut down, resulting in a loss of drive power. The recall includes certain i4, i5, i7, and iX models. Officials say BMW dealers will fix the problem free of charge. And a warning this morning to always pay attention when you're behind the wheel. Take a look at this dash cam video from Louisiana. The Department of Transportation employee is in a bucket truck repairing a traffic light above a busy intersection when an 18-wheeler takes a wide turn, just crashes into the truck, and it leaves the worker hanging on for dear life. That incident happened in Livingston Parish near Baton Rouge. The worker only had minor injuries and didn't require a trip to the hospital, so that's good there, but police say they are still investigating the incident. 6:20 now on your Friday morning. It's a pretty cool sight right up I-65. We'll tell you about this newly installed mini version of a basketball court for the WNBA All-Star Game next.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, funding education for over 1 million.
The WNBA All-Star Game is headed to Indianapolis next month, and at the airport, you can have a courtside view. The Indianapolis International Airport unveiled a mini replica of the WNBA court, along with a basketball goal and some signage. The court will be seen by thousands of travelers coming through the airport ahead of the WNBA All-Star Game. That'll be on July 19th. And we do have a traffic alert for you right now. We have a report of a crash on 64 eastbound. It looks like a car knocked on its side up against the barrier there. They have multiple lanes shut down there, so they're down to just one lane. That's the left lane. Again, that's 64 eastbound. This is just past the Watterson Expressway, so expect some major delays in that area as they're working to clear this crash. No real timeline for how long that is going to take. Let's take a look outside, though, with meteorologist Tawana Andrew, who's tracking even more heat and some chances for rain.
Yeah, we'll watch for some isolated downpours as we head into this afternoon with those highs in the low to mid 90s. But once we get into the weekend, rain chances do go up. We're going to be watching for more of those showers and thunderstorms for Saturday afternoon and evening. And again, Sunday afternoon and evening, rain chances go up even more on Monday with a cold front moving through then. We'll watch that rain sinking to the south throughout the day on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we'll talk about some more pleasant conditions trying to come our way, mainly in form of some lower humidity across the region. That humidity and our temperatures will ramp back up as we get towards the 4th of July, and we'll watch for rain chances for the following weekend.
Thanks, Tawana. The Butchertown Business Alliance will host the 3rd annual Butcher Block Party this weekend. That's happening Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Lynn Family Stadium. The Seltzer Garden will be filled with food, drinks, music, and a vendor fair. There will also be a silent auction to raise money for the organization. In addition to supporting Butchertown businesses, the event will also support the help feed the homeless. It's 6:26 now. Coming up next at 6:30, Louisville Metro Animal Service employees want better pay, and they made it known outside of last night's Metro Council meeting as the new budget was being approved. We'll hear from those LMAS officers. And a fundraiser is now live for the family of a teenage boy whose body was pulled from the Ohio River after he disappeared while playing with friends this week. We'll have those details after the break.
Now, Wave News Sunrise.
Good morning. It's now 6:30 on your Friday morning. Thanks for sticking with us here on Sunrise. And it is Friday. The party animals are in town at Slugger Field as we take a live look right now. You can see part of Preston Street shut down. They have a big block party there before and during the games. And hopefully there's going to be a lot of water just flying in the air because it is so hot out there. Tawana, outside in the weather garden right now, they have a lot of fun during these games. So they're allowed to just splash everyone with water. I'm sure there are water guns involved. You never really know with Banana Ball.
You really never know, and it's just going to be a really good time. But if you're heading there, make sure you're hydrating, and of course, a little bit of sunscreen never hurt nobody, right? So what we're going to be looking at as we continue throughout the day will be more of that heat dominating our forecast. We'll start off today in those 70s across the region, so it is warm out here. It certainly feels quite muggy, but it doesn't feel as crazy as it did a couple of days ago. So yes, as we're keeping an eye on Slugger Field, things are quiet and calm there. Overall, we'll watch for plenty of sunshine today. Of course, that humidity is still a factor, so while our highs will be in the low to mid 90s, we're going to feel like closer to 100 degrees. And just make sure you're staying hydrated as the day goes along. But hey, Mother Nature might help you out with that, with a couple of isolated downpours possible this afternoon. Once we head into your Saturday and Sunday, we do see rain chances going up across the region for both of those days, but that's mainly in the afternoon and early evening. So for those of you, by the way, heading over to that Lou City matchup against North Carolina for tomorrow, we are going to keep that chance for an isolated downpour in the forecast. I certainly can't completely rule that out, but overall for most of that matchup, we're expecting a mix of sun and clouds and temperatures gradually falling through the low 80s. So a lot to watch as we head into the weekend, including with so many events going on. I'll talk a little bit more about the rain chances, especially for Monday when that cold front moves through, in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Tawana. Turning now to the Crystal Rogers case. We've reported and seen the video of Brooks Hauk's police interview from around the time Crystal Rogers went missing. During Thursday's testimony, we learned the police weren't the only ones recording. Brooks Hauk was recording too, and even brought a prepared statement with him. Wave News reporter Marissa Burke joining us in the studio now to share more. Marissa.
Olivia, prosecutors found a common theme with Brooks Hauk's recollection of events. They pointed out the times he struggled with questions about his statement to police. The defense argues he was paranoid but still cooperative. Prosecutors flagged a few things with Hauk, including his interview with Detective John Snow. Hauk came in with a prepared written statement and read it word for word. Something new we also learned is that he was secretly recording that interview as well as many other interactions with police.
Having a printed statement that you're reading to police that you didn't say you and your lawyer prepared together, that you prepared, is odd, because typically that would tell me that you probably prepared it with other people. And if you have nothing to hide, why prepare a statement? Mm-hmm. And, you know, the truth usually is somewhere in the middle. It doesn't necessarily mean he committed a murder, mm-hmm. but it's an odd, I don't think I've ever seen someone read a statement in a police booth.
How Houck's defense is showing the jury their relationship Crystal Rogers and he had was complicated, but not beyond repair. His attorneys presented phone records where Houck tried to reach out to Rogers after she disappeared in July of 2015. This trial continues to reveal more layers to what may have led up to Crystal Rogers' disappearance. Everyone will be back in the courtroom at 8:30 this morning Central Time, 9:30 Louisville time. Stick with us throughout the day on Wave News and on our website, wave3.com, to find out developments as they happen. Marissa Burke, Wave News.
Thanks, Marissa. A fundraiser has been set up to help the family of a Louisville teenager whose body was pulled from the Ohio River this week. Police teams recovered Derek Saunders Jr.'s body from the Ohio River near the Greenwood boat ramp. The team was found after he was last seen swimming in the river on Monday evening. The fundraising page is now up on the Leslie Ryan Prather Foundation site. Their goal is to raise $7,500. At last check, more than $6,400 has been raised. Money from the crowdfunding effort will help with funeral costs. We're also looking ahead to when new laws go into effect in Indiana next week. More than 200 laws were passed in this year's legislative session. They range from attempts at property tax relief and cutting down on Medicaid fraud to bans on lab-grown meat. Several of the laws are already facing legal challenges, including banning college students from using their college IDs to prove their identities when voting in elections. Indiana taxpayers are paying nearly $500,000 for Attorney General Todd Rokita's disciplinary defense. The News and Tribune reported the findings from information obtained in new records. Indiana paid 4 law firms a combined $491,508 since 2022. It's in regards to Rokita's national comments about an Indianapolis doctor who oversaw a medication abortion for a 10-year-old rape victim from Ohio. Rokita is being represented in at least 6 separate matters before the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission.
We're happy to do our job. We're happy to be there for the city, but at the same time, it would be nice to be compensated for the things that we do.
While the council passed the budget inside Louisville Metro Hall, a handful of city employees sat outside calling for higher wages. Employees tell us it's been more than 3 years since they've received a cost of living raise, and it's impacting the work they're able to do. Right now, they're making around $20 an hour, and some LMAS employees are making even less than that. Some workers that spoke with us talked about the parts of the job the public doesn't always remember, like the calls that lead to them putting down animals or working alongside LMPD in stressful situations. They say those things don't keep people working there with the current pay. One animal control officer says they want to see the pay jump to $25 an hour.
Because when people realize they're going to go through that line of work, they would rather go someplace like McDonald's and flip burgers for the same price that we get paid.
We have people that are struggling to feed their families, and they're coming in every day and putting in the work to make sure that the public and these animals are taken care of.
Hey. Stavalis says he will be meeting with Metro leaders in the coming weeks. Wave reached out to the union president, Saulette Davis, for comment on the story, but have yet to hear back. Highlands Community Ministries is encouraging neighbors to give back during some of the hottest times of the year. Yesterday, they hosted Light Up the Block. It's an effort to collect donations to help pay utility bills for families who are in danger of getting their service turned off. In the past, Highland Community Ministries say they've received a lot of support from local congregations, but they say over the years that has slowed down.
Congregations are shrinking, and their support for us has declined through the years. That's a national thing. It's not just Louisville. It's not just the Highlands. So what we're really trying to do is reach out to the general community in our service area so they will support their neighbors in need, whether they go to a congregation in the Highlands or not.
You can donate to the cause at hcmlouisville.org. A reminder for drivers, using toll bridges to and from Louisville and southern Indiana will cost you a bit more in a couple days. Rates depend on the size of your vehicle, if you have a prepaid Riverlink account, and if you have a transponder. You can find the new rates on Riverlink's website. Toll rates were laid out by both Indiana and Kentucky back in 2013. They increased 2.5% each year to keep up with operations and maintenance. The Kentucky Kentucky Expo Center is planning an expansion for parking. They've started work on a 300,000 square foot plot of land on Phillips Lane at the former Executive Strike and Spare. The Expo Center plans to repurpose the land for flexible parking and events. They hope to use it for events like the Kentucky State Fair, Bourbon and Beyond, and Louder Than Life. Here's Tawana taking a look at the next 12 hours.
And as we head over the next 12, we will see plenty of sunshine in our forecast yet again for today, with those highs in the low to mid 90s, feeling though like close to 100 degrees. So another hot and humid day, but we are going to watch for more of those isolated downpours that can produce heavy rain and some gusty winds as they move on by. I'll talk a little bit more about our rain chances for today and into the weekend in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Tawana. It's 6:38 now. There's a new report out that shows tobacco use in kids in the Hoosier State is down, but nicotine use is up. We'll break it down after the break. Plus, a major pharmacy says they won't be covering a popular weight loss drug, which may be forcing patients to switch. How you could still save some money when getting that new prescription next. And as we take a look at traffic, we still have that traffic alert out there. A report of a crash on I-64 headed eastbound. They have 2 lanes closed right now. It looks like a car wedged up against that barrier there, down to just 1 lane in that area. So expect some delays on I-64 moving eastbound near I-264. A major pharmacy group is ending its coverage for a popular weight loss drug. CVS Caremark will drop coverage of Zepbound effective July 1st. Wegovy is now their preferred GLP-1 drug. You should speak to your doctor before making any changes in your medications. And if you're worried about the cost of those prescription changes, Pharmacy Navigator site Scripta Insights has a tool for comparing GLP-1s and costs. Experts say if you skip the auto-injector pen and opt for a syringe, you can also save some money.
Sounds like it would be really difficult. These are very small needles. They're relatively easy to use, and you will save a lot of money if you're willing to do that.
Even with insurance, you might be able to add $25 manufacturer coupons or get discounts from places like GoodRx or Cost Plus Drugs. The movement to get rid of synthetic dyes in food is growing, and a new study offers reasons why. It found that synthetic dyes often mean more sugar and less nutrition. The new research reveals foods and beverages with synthetic dyes contained 141% more sugar on average than foods products without dyes. There's new data from the Indiana Department of Health detailing just how much tobacco kids are using. The 2024 Indiana Youth Tobacco Survey talked to more than 4,800 students in the Indiana public high schools and middle schools. The survey showed an overall decline in tobacco use in 2024, but the survey found some forms of tobacco use are still raising concerns. Electronic cigarettes were the most commonly used tobacco product by kids in Indiana, followed by nicotine pouches for high schoolers and cigars for middle schoolers. The survey also found the percentage of high schoolers who tried nicotine pouches in 2024 more than doubled from what it was in 2022, from 2.3% to 5%. Some people in eastern Kentucky are keeping cool during the heat wave with an underground pool party. So check this out. Carter Caves State Resort Park in Carter County held their first pool party this week. People hopped on floats and drifted through an underground creek. They even decorated the cave with LED lighting and played some fun music.
Never been anything like this. It's like a cave lazy river is what it reminds me of.
As cool as an underground party can be, which is awesome.
This is the best way to cool off.
It sounds like the best way to cool off. So people came as far away as Cincinnati just to float. And she said it's an underground lazy river. I love a lazy river. I'm lazy.
Listen, if there's a lazy river, this is where you will always find me. Like, that's just a given. But I want to know how warm that water is.
I bet it's the perfect temperature.
It better be, because, and you know, inside caves are just perfect places on days like today.
Exactly.
So, hey, we have a couple of those, just a few around here. We'll talk about, of course, the heat for today and, of course, more rain for the weekend in just 30 seconds. Meteorologist Tawana Andrew here with a check of your forecast. We still have the heat advisory in place across the entire region yet again today as we watch for those temperatures warming up this afternoon. Already on the warm side this morning, sitting in the low to mid 70s to start off the day. Now, the storm tracker has been out and about and currently is at the waterfront, and this is just a gorgeous sunrise. Like, I mean, even the ducks are enjoying it this morning. A beautiful start to the day for sure. But for those of you who maybe want to stay inside, yes, remember, we're talking about more of that heat, more of that humidity humidity on the way. Right now, we're looking at a few of these mid to upper level clouds overhead across our region. No rain in the area as of right now, but as that cold front off towards our northwest approaches, we are going to keep some more of that rain in our forecast for later on today. But what we're going to be looking at for most of your Friday, just a mix of sun and clouds as temperatures climb into the 90s yet again this afternoon. Isolated rain chances start to pop after lunch, and some of these can produce some locally heavy rain, some gusty winds yet again. Some of you saw that yesterday and the day prior. We're going to be watching for it again this afternoon and evening. Now, as of right now, a better chance for a couple of stronger thunderstorms will be for those of you south of the parkways. We're going to keep that isolated rain chance even for the overnight hours for those of you further to the north because you're closer to that front. But overall, once we get throughout the day today, we'll keep an eye on a couple of those stronger storms, especially for those of you in the southern portions of Marion County down into Adair County. This is where we could see some stronger wind gusts, some 60+ mile per hour wind gusts embedded in some of those thunderstorms. Overall, everybody dries out tonight. Temperatures falling down into the low to mid 70s for tomorrow morning. As we look ahead to the next 10 days, here's what we have going on for your Saturday. We do start off the day on a quiet note with that mix of sun and clouds yet again, but we watch rain chances going up Saturday afternoon and evening. Some of those afternoon thunderstorms can produce heavy rain and gusty winds. Highs tomorrow near 90 degrees. Once we head into the evening hours, still a couple of those isolated thunderstorms can still be around. Now, we'll watch for more of those scattered storms to portions, but not all of your Sunday, so neither day is going to be a washout. You just have to be weather aware this weekend. Another front arrives on Monday. This one will bring a better chance for showers and storms. We'll keep an eye on some of the strength of some of those storms on Monday. That's something that we're going to continue to keep an eye on. And then once we head into Tuesday, it finally sinks to the south, taking not just the rain chances, but also the humidity with it for a bit. So the humidity drops a little bit lower than what we typically see for this time of the year, but doesn't completely go away. I don't want to make you think that, but yes, we see that slight drop in humidity with highs in the 80s for next Wednesday. Once you get towards Thursday and Friday of next week, the heat starts to return. And by the following weekend, that is when we'll see some rain chances coming back into our forecast as well. But as of right now, for all of those events going on the 4th of July itself, things are looking hot and dry.
All right, thanks, Tawana. Today, Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg will join members of the local union representing UPS drivers to bring awareness to unsafe conditions in the extremely hot weather. In a release, Teamsters Local 89 says workers often have 12-hour shifts on super hot days. They say trucks can reach more than 120 degrees without working air conditioning. Mayor Craig Greenberg, Teamsters, and other officials will hold that briefing at 8:30 this morning at the UPS building. We'll be sure to bring you updates on what they say on air and online on wave3.com. Governor Andy Beshear has ordered all flags to be put at half-staff today to honor a fallen soldier. U.S. Army soldier Dustin Wright died after a helicopter crash in Fort Campbell. He'll be buried in Hopkinsville later today. The governor is asking people to lower their flags to recognize him. Now, taking a look at the big stories we're following today around the country and the world. Republicans are scrambling to pass President Donald Trump's sweeping domestic policy legislation by his self-imposed deadline after the Senate parliamentarian called for revisions. GOP leaders say they hope the Senate can rework the bill and pass it this weekend. After that, it would still have to go back to the House. President Trump wants to sign it by Independence Day. Closing arguments in the federal sex trafficking case against Sean Diddy Combs will continue today as his trial wraps up in Manhattan. The music mogul is accused of leading a criminal enterprise as well as abusing his romantic partners and employees. Prosecutors spoke for close to 5 hours on Thursday, outlining the charges Combs faces. Combs' defense team will deliver their closing statements this morning. And wedding guests are arriving in Venice as we're in the midst of a 3-day celebration for Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and his fiancée, former journalist Lauren Sanchez. Around 200 guests are said to be joining the duo for the celebrations, which are costing upwards of $55.5 million. Venice tourism is expected to generate up to $35 million for the parties, organizations, and events tied to the wedding. What a celebration there. We'll be right back with your Wake Up Watch List right after this. Taking a look at the top local stories we're following in your Wake Up watch list. Fire crews say an electrical equipment failure at the meter base of a home in Prospect caused it to catch fire late last night. This happened in the 7500 block of Chestnut Hill Drive. It took almost 30 firefighters from 3 different departments nearly an hour to put out the flames. No injuries were reported. Today, the Crystal Rogers murder trial resumes in Bowling Green. Attorneys for the defense are trying to prove that Brooks Houck and Crystal Rogers' relationship was complicated, while the prosecution zeroed in on what they flagged as several red flags. Testimony is set to resume this morning at 9:30 Eastern Time. We will be there in the courtroom and bring you updates throughout the day, both on air and online at wave3.com. And child abuse will be at the forefront in Frankfort today as Kentucky's sextortion law takes effect. Crime victim advocates will be joined by Louisville Senator Julie Rocky Adams, who introduced the bill. They'll be doing that this morning to mark the day. That'll be at 10 o'clock at the Paul Sawyer Public Library. It's open to the public to attend. And it's a showdown on the grills today between Jeffersontown Fire Department and LMPD's 6th Division. They're having a cook-off, and it's all for charity. You'll get a burger, chips, and a drink just for $6. All the proceeds will go to local charities, and the winner will claim victory and bragging rights, because who doesn't want that? They'll be grilling out at the Kroger in McMahon Plaza on Breckenridge Lane. Sounds delicious, but Tawana, I'm sure it'll be hot for everyone who's standing over a grill.
Oh, yeah, but you know they love that, though. They thrive in that. But make sure you're still hydrating even as you're doing that today. We have that heat advisory in place until later on this evening as we sit in the 70s as of right now. But then once we get into later on today, yet again, seeing those 90s in the forecast. This sunrise this morning on this storm tracker shot has just been absolutely gorgeous, with the mid to upper level clouds overhead. Occasionally some ducks have just been floating by. It's been one of those mornings. But don't forget, we really heat up this afternoon with those highs in the low to mid 90s. That isolated rain chance back in the forecast this afternoon and evening. Those can produce some heavy rain and some gusty winds, so keep that in mind. And looking ahead to the next 10 days, we are going to be watching for a little bit more of some of the heat around, but rain chances going up for the weekend into the beginning of next week. And then, of course, 4th of July looking hot and humid, but that's how it's supposed to be.
That's exactly what's supposed to happen on the 4th of July. So, hey, can't complain about that. And we do still have this traffic alert, a crash on 64 eastbound. This is just past I-264. You're down to just 1 lane traffic able to move on the side. We're hearing 3 cars involved in this. There are injuries. One of those cars is wedged up over the guardrail in between that side, that barrier there. So this could take a while for them to clear that out. And like I said, they do still have 1 lane of traffic moving through there, but you can expect some significant delays throughout that area.
Yeah, a lot happening this morning in terms of traffic. Thankfully, weather is quiet, but yeah. I'm just excited for the fact that we get some rain. Like, everybody gets in on some rain this time.
You know, I usually would complain about rain, but after just days of hot, at least some variety outside, right?
Exactly. It cools us off.
Exactly. Yes. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great Friday and a great weekend.
Get live streaming news, 24-hour weather, investigations, podcasts, and more, all